Hey everyone. Okay, so yeah, this is Ziki. All right. So, to those of you who are familiar with this face and who have subscribed, thank you so much. And to those who are new and starting to see me for the first time, please subscribe so that you don't miss. All right. So here's the thing. For those of you who might recall, 2 weeks ago, I put out a question on the community tab where I was asking people about their religious background and what they believe. I asked people whether they follow Christianity, ancestral worshiping, or both. So from the answers that I got, the majority of the people who responded said that they believed in both. They followed both, ancestral worshiping, and also they were in other religions. So in other words, they were mixing whatever is right at that particular time. So and I also promised that we're going to come out live to talk about that. But anyway, my sister Michelle hosted a webinar where these things were being discussed in detail, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that came out from there. And of course, I'm going to be putting them out in short, right? And so this time around, I'm going to be sharing with you. I asked a question according to what you guys had asked me. I also posed that question, so let's just hear what the answer was. Okay. Okay, so let's see what it was there. These days I'm having problems with my network, so that is the reason why I'm failing to come out live. But that is also coming in very, very soon. So let's get watching.
Like usage of your spirit. And the thing is, guys, we are spiritual people, and like Doctor said, we are spirit. We are literally spirits having human experiences. So it's important for us to connect with your spirit. It's important for you to figure out who you are, what your purpose is, and the way that you do that is through spirituality. Religion does not really touch on those things much. Religion is it's what you've been taught. It's just something that you practice. If I ask you questions a lot of the time about why it is that you do certain things in religion, most of the time there are no answers. Like, people have no idea. Like, if I ask, I recently had a conversation with a client of mine who posted a picture of her mother wearing a Catholic, because she's in a Catholic Women's Association thing, and it's a blue outfit. And so I asked her, "Oh, do you have any idea why it's blue? Does your mom understand why it is that it's blue?" And she couldn't answer me. She was just like, and that's what religion is like. It's as if, like, you just do for the sake of doing, just because, but you don't understand why you do the things that you do. And that for me makes no sense. It is illogical to just be walking around doing just because they say do. I hope I was able to answer the question.
Definitely. Thank you, sis.
Okay. Thank you so much for the answer, Makwesi. Does anyone else have a question or something to add on to that? Zeki, you may take the mic.
Okay, so thank you so much. I hope you can all hear me clearly. I've been following, and it's quite an interesting discussion that we're having today. So, my question is the first one. Anyone can answer this. Why are ancestors considered evil? Is there any historical or scholarly connotation to this? Why are they considered evil? What is it that is evil? That's my first question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there any taker for this question? Dr. Anthony Balinga Makosi, Ambassador.
Who was taking my
Okay.
I
question?
can.
All right, maybe I can try.
Okay, you can go ahead, Doc. Makosi, you may speak after him as well, in case you've got any additions.
Yes, I may start by saying that the word evil is a Latin word. Basically, it's not a word which comes from any of our languages. It's an alien word which has been used to designate certain things, and in our case, us, the dark-skinned peoples of the world. Now, if you take a look around the world, you come to China, you will find in the Shanxi region, the first dynasty of which created the people who created the first Chinese dynasty were black people. It's recorded. If you go to the rest of Asia, Malaysia and Thailand, and so you will still see the remnants of black people there. In the United States of America, it was pretty much the same. And in recent times, scientists proved it was black people who created the United Kingdom, and this created a lot of uproar. When you go back to, even those who use the Bible, you find people like Nimrod and others. They're considered to be black people. So you had black people all over the world virtually, and black people essentially ruled the planet. Most of the creations came from black people. The reason being that black people were the original people and that their genes were complete. The dark color essentially derives from copper, the real copper itself, the melanin pigmentation, and this is very important scientifically. But this coloration, this pigmentation is there. And it does bring on certain qualities which you may not find in certain other people, a certain spiritual stability included. And because of this constant capacity to outperform, to out-survive, to outlast most other peoples who came to be eventually, dark-skinned peoples were historically considered to be a threat or a danger. And because when we reproduce, dark-skinned people reproduce with other peoples, there is a dominance of the dark-skinned gene. This was also considered a threat. Other people, other races wish to survive, and they feel they are unlikely to survive if they continue to mate and to mix with dark-skinned people. And so most of the aggression which was directed at dark-skinned people came from the males of other societies. And they created various myths, various legends to do so. And it goes back to history. Even when you come back to religion, you go to the Bible, you will find characters like Moses, who were said to be trained by the Egyptians. Who were the Egyptians at the time? Black-skinned people. Moses was trained in all the tradition of the Egyptians. So Judaism comes from the laws of Moses, the education of Moses and all of that. But what happens physically or spiritually is always the same. You admire something, you admire someone, you copy what they do, then you demonize them. But mostly, I can summarize this by saying that it is fear. It is the fear of the capacity of the dark-skinned people to outperform, to out-survive other peoples that has led to us being called evil. There was no other real reason for this. I hope I answered the question, but if I didn't answer the question, you could reframe it and I will do my best to answer, or somebody else can add something to what I just said. Thank you.
Yeah. So Zani, I'd like to add on to what Dr. said. Okay, so I'm going to speak purely from a metaphysical perspective. Metaphysical means looking at the concept of spirit and understanding the connection to the universe and all of that. So your question was, why is it that ancestors are deemed as evil? I believe, so on a metaphysical level, we are on different planes. We have different planes. We have different levels in the universe. So we right now are on the earth, and this is, we are physical. Everything is physical here on this earth. But below us, there are other levels. So there's Inner Earth 1 and there's Inner Earth 2. So Inner Earth 1 is the part of the universe where our ancestors are. So Inner Earth, so that's below us. This is also why ancestors are called, why they'll call you a child of the soil, because ancestors are from the soil. When you die, you become the soil. So you are connected to the soil. So that's where ancestors are, that's where they are as far as the the universe is concerned. So Inner Earth 1. Inner Earth 2, that's where demons are. So demons and dark things and just like things that people call up when they want to do negative things and whatnot, just evil energy in general. That's an inner earth too. So above us, we've got a level where there's angels. So this is then connecting to, for instance, if you've got different gifts, where you might have a gift of prophecy, where you're not necessarily accessing the foundation, you're not necessarily using the energy of the foundation and the energy of the soil, but you're using energy of angels and energy of the higher realms, which might then, which is closer to God, like, and I'm saying God in terms of the light, the one source, the one light, because as I say, there's many different levels. So there's angels, and then there's gods, and then there's planets, and then there's the universe. So because the angels and so on are so much closer to the universe and to the light, to the source, they are seen as brighter and lighter and not evil, I guess. And the ancestors, who are unfortunately then in the lower levels, because there's so much, they're closer to the inner earth, to their inner earth one, they are also then, also because they were human, they were just like us, they've got like emotions and stuff just like us, because they were once human, just like us. So because of that connection and the closeness to inner earth too, it kind of gives the vibration is lower. All right. So because the vibration is low, if we're talking in terms of frequency, the higher the vibration means the higher, hence, if you're happy, you're vibrating high. If you're sad, you're vibrating low. That means your energy is really low. So the same thing, the higher you are in the universe, the higher and lower the vibration is. So if the ancestors are in inner earth 2, they are much closer. I mean, in inner earth 1, they're much closer to inner earth 2, which means they vibrate really low in comparison to the higher beings. This, I believe, is one of the reasons why, the universe, even outside, because you need to understand that even outside of history, even outside of the human being coming in and deciding that I want to take this and make it my own, and out of whatever traumas and experiences that they've been through, where they feel as if they need to conquer other people versus just being, there's actual, like I said, spirituality is a science. So there's actual scientific understanding of why it is that, certain energies would be seen as vibrating lower. So we don't even know this. We don't understand this. We just see it as, oh, well, it's an ancestor, it's evil. Oh, it's an angel, so you pray. No, it's bigger than that. It has to do so much more with science. And this is why it's so important to understand that spirituality is more than just abogogo nabomkhulu. It's bigger than that. Your guides are bigger than just your grandmother and your grandfather, your grandparents, and all of that. It's energy. Everything is energy. And so this for me makes sense why ancestors then would be considered to why the general understanding or the general feeling around the concept of ancestors is evil, because they vibrate lower. They do. I mean, it is what it is, and unfortunately it translates into the physical as something silly, such as saying ancestors are evil, versus in the higher, where you're dealing with angels, you're dealing with higher cosmic beings and all of that, and then you see that as light, because while it vibrates high anyway, what happens in the spiritual translates into the physical. I hope I was able to explain.
Okay, so thank you so much. I don't know, the host, if I may continue with another question that I have.
Yes, you may continue. We are here to answer the questions today.
Okay, so thank you so much, Doctor, and thank you, Gogo. Now, another thing that I wanted to ask is, can one practice both Christianity and African spirituality? We know that when it comes to Christianity, they say you cannot serve two masters. You just, if you decide to be a Christian, just be a Christian. So I want to ask, in terms of the African spirituality side, how do they take it?
Okay. I don't know who is going to take this one, but for me, I'd like to emphasize or put more salt to her question. Um, like, I've been a person who has not seen any reason why a Christian should practice African spirituality. I haven't been a Christian before, Seventh Day Adventist, someone who was so much into the Old Testament, and I kept the Sabbath. At some point, I wasn't even eating meat because I was trying to be as close as I could to what the Bible required me to. But then the more you read on African spirituality, the more you see that it does not mix with Christianity, for example. In African spirituality, people go on to talk to their ancestors. That's one. And the Bible does not allow you to do that. There are stuff like beads, for example, and many other, like invoking some spirits, African traditional religion or African spirituality, as some would term it, gets to have so much of that. And Christianity, on the other hand, says do not do that. So it doesn't make sense for you to be a part-time Christian or maybe an 80% Christian and do 20% of African traditional stuff, or for you to just go 80% on African traditional stuff, or because you want to cater for the other religion. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I was just adding on to her question of whether or not it is possible for one practicing African spirituality to also be a religious person.
Okay, guys. So this question here, remember I shared it on our community tab, right? And I asked you, and the majority of you answered that you practice both. You follow both. Sometimes, if things call for you to be on the African side, you go on the African side, and if it calls for you to be on your other religion, you go on your other religion. So let's just hear, the answers to this question, okay?
Ambassador, your hand is up. I'm sure you may take the mic for now. You may speak.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you so much.
welcome.
Yeah, I want to answer firstly the question that was asked by Zike, about why is African spirituality tagged as evil and stuff. Okay, the answer is very straightforward, you know, and the straight answer is simply ignorance. Anything people do not understand, they will say, they can target anything they want in their own language and forms at the end of the day. In ancient spirituality known as Ifa, in the Niger Congo, people, and people of similar dialects, the Yoruba, the Nupe, the Igbos, and stuff like that. Ifa let us to understand that the world is created with the energy of the good and bad. Or you can call the bad the evil, if you want. So this two energy is created. I mean, is what is actually rolling up in the world that we live in, right? So at the end of the day, there is good in bad and there is bad in good. So it now depends on the kinds of perception or what life is facing, to you, or what reality of life you are facing right now. So that's what it depends on. Anything people do not understand, they target as evil. In reality, there's nothing we can call evil as such as a word per se. If we have to look at it deeply, I mean deeply, deeply at the end of the day. There's always something more deeper than whatever it is, right? So it's just ignorance. When people are ignorant of something, they target whatever they want to call it. And that's okay too. I mean, it's part of life. Yeah, people will live life, and so life continues. Perceptions of life does not stop. The laws of Ifa from rolling in at the end of the day. Now, down to your second question, you asked that is it possible for foreign religion adherents to get into African spirituality? That's a very serious question that needs to be taken very serious. I mean, very meticulously anyway. The reason why is because it's very hard. You see, African spirituality generally is very, very, conclusive. So when I say conclusive, is that it's very, very embracing. It embraces and it's very, very, it's very, very, accepted. Like it doesn't really, shun on a lot of things as such, especially, perception of people, etc. Be you a Christian or whatever religion around the world that people want to be. If you go to a Babalawo, a Sangoma, a Santerio, or any priest of any African spirituality today, you know, generally, if the Sangoma divine for you as an individual, you know, the divination is going to be done based on the essence of your being, which is your spirit. As such, the divination is not going to be done due to whether you are a Christian, Muslim, or any religion that you want to call yourself. You want to differentiate yourself with, right? So, and the energy is going to speak to you accordingly, according to the information that is residual in your destiny, in your individual destiny. Right? So the diviner is going to speak according to what what the energy is saying at that particular moment. So there's no restriction as such at the end of the day. It is very hard because of what we're experiencing, the fight, the struggle, blah, 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 at the end of the day. But I tell you, as a Muslim, go before your diviner today. If the diviner is not somebody that is, we have some diviners that are very hard on any forms of religion. They say, no, I can't do this for you because you're practicing foreign religion, blah, 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 right? But that is the position of an individual, is the position of a diviner. That's not the position of the spirituality that he or she hold in her hand or in his hand. So, it's different. So different ideology or different life experiences of diviner can alter divination sometimes. So what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, even whatever religion you practice, whatever, people can still come before you as a priest. I mean, like, you can go before a priest of any Asian spiritualities of Africa, to divine for you. And they're going to do it at the end of the day. Now, the spirituality is going to speak to you. The energy, Olodumare is going to speak to you, not because you are a Christian, not because you are a Muslim, not because you are anything, but because you are, you're actually a spirit coming before, your divinity to ask of what is at hand, of what needs to be tackled, of what needs to be known. So this is how African spirituality operates. It doesn't operate based on whether somebody is a Christian, whatever religion, it's not an issue. And it becomes an issue when adherents of religions or foreign religions are trying to tackle the whole thing. They are fighting us, trying to see the images, blah, 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 all these things. That is where it becomes an issue to a lot of people. Right. So at the end of the day, we still have a lot of Muslims, Christians who are still practicing, different African spirituality in the continent today. That doesn't mean that the divine, the ancestors is going to talk to them. No, it doesn't mean that. No. diviner can decide that. I mean, like the diviner, if the Sangoma or Babalawo can define, or Yanifa can he can decide, he or she can decide if it's going to divine for this person, due to his own or her own personal understanding. So because I know I cannot divine for a Muslim. Oh no, I cannot divine for a Christian. It's a choice, but that is not the position of whatsoever deity he or she stand on. That's not the position. So it became a a different thing when when individual diviner have their perception on a particular religion or whatsoever. So it became an issue because people are starting to have an issue with it, because we have a lot of foreign religions that are fighting on a lot of things these days. So it became a very, very serious issue. All right, people are dragging, disturbing themselves on this and that. It became an issue. But we should not, we cannot throw the baby away with the water at the end of the day. Yeah. So, and the concept of, I think somebody was asking the concept of religion or spirituality, stuff like that. Hmm. It is very hard for us to separate religion for humans generally in the world as a as humans. Very, very hard, because every single Asian spiritualities on the continent, known as African today, all of them, they all have a segment of religion in them. They have fragments of religion in them, right? So, how do we want to put aside religion, from Africans? Even if they shun African foreign foreign religions per se, how can they shun the religious aspect of their Asian spirituality? It's very, very hard. It's very, very hard. If we have to go, if we have to go by definition of what religion is, and so on and so forth, it's very, very hard. Away from dogma and fanaticism, etc. We have to look into this deeply. Because every single Asian spirituality have their own religious aspect of them. And so to do away with that, to be a little bit, very hard, right? So yeah, yeah. So that's all I have to say with that. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ambassador. Vicky, you may speak again.
Okay, so thank you so much for responding to that. We are learning. And also, I want to ask this question. I got it just now. It says, as when Christians are talking, when you're doing something bad and they say you're going to hell. Now, when it comes to African spirituality, when someone has been doing bad, or maybe they pass, where are they going? What happens to them?
Okay, who is taking the question? Doctor?
Okay, doctor.
All right, thanks. As far as I understand, from what I heard from the older people in the family that I talked with, and related people in Africa who were not from the family but were very closely tied to the nation. In ancient times, in our traditions, there was no concept of the devil and there was no concept of hell. These concepts were brought in by the Westerners when they arrived. And so people just thought that we came from our ancestors and we came from a place, the Great Spirit. The greatest spirit was our greatest ancestor. And so we appeared into the world from this great spirit, and we're who we are for the duration of our time. And when we die, regardless of whatever we did, we returned to the Great Spirit, who determined what happened next to us, not in terms of going to hell or going to heaven, but in terms of your next experience. So you went back to join the ancestors. But in some traditions, there was something called an evil forest. I think in Cameroon, Nigeria, maybe some other parts of Africa, you can hear about this. People who committed suicide, who were serial murderers and others, their bodies were dumped in the evil forest and not buried normally. And this was supposed to prevent them from being able to return to the ancestors for a given period of time. That meant that they were supposed to be stuck on the earth where they could not really, they couldn't evolve, they couldn't go to better things, couldn't be welcomed by the ancestors to receive better things. And they would be stuck on this earth where they could not really take part in the activities of the world. At the same time, they couldn't evolve towards, the great ancestor where the rest of our ancestors who didn't spend their time doing such things were. So there was an evil forest for these kinds of things. Maybe some other people have some more information.
Okay, thank you so much, Doc. And I think there might be a bit of a similarity with how it's like in Southern Africa. And I don't know if Makosi is still here. May you kindly explain, may you kindly give us a bit of insight of what it's like when it comes to Southern African spirituality with regards to this? Like for us in Southern Africa, we call the spirits of the dead Amadlozi, Bovazimu in Shona, and Badimo in Sesotho. Yeah, and we've got different words, but then they mean the same thing. But sorry for using my language. But,
All right. So,
yeah.
so I think what Gogo is trying to explain is okay. So we have people who have died, and those are people that are connected to our lineage. This would be, we would term them amatongo, people who are sleeping, people who are laying to rest. And these are our ancestors. So these are people who may not necessarily, okay. And then you have amadlozi. Amadlozi are, they're like a team. They're your team. They're your own personal team. A bunch of spirits which are appointed to be the ones who help you on the journey that you're on, to fulfill the purpose that you are here on this earth to fulfill. The ancestors, Amatongo, they're still there. So, they still help in fighting the cause. Also, you always have to be very, very selective in your wording, because there's a lot of power in your throat, in the words that come out of your mouth. So you command what it is that you want in your space. So this now then says that there is definitely a distinction between good and bad ancestors, because you will definitely call on the ancestors that are good, the ancestors that come with light, ancestors that are trying to help remove the darkness and bring the light back into your life and into life and the world in general. So this, as I said, it does then say that there is the element of bad ancestors, or ancestors who come with negative energy, an energy that cannot be transmuted and changed into light energy, and those do exist. I'm not necessarily 100% sure about what happens to them, where they come from. I actually, honestly speaking, right? Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I could lie and sit here and tell all kinds of things, but I don't want to do that. So, what I have also definitely heard of is that there are certain spirits, like people, not necessarily people who are bad, but people maybe who. People who maybe led negative lives and are just not accepted in their family crowd when they pass away, because I do believe that happens, that when you pass away, your family, the good guys, then they select who's coming in and who's not. So if you're not accepted in, then you just kind of walk the earth. You become a lost spirit. You become a spirit which has nothing, is not really connected to some, and it's awkward, because these spirits, people tap into them, and if they come with negative energy, I mean, what can that spirit really do? But I don't want to lie to you guys, I am not 100% versed in that stuff, but yeah, that's all I can put forth.
We hear you, Makosi.
Sorry. I also just wanted to touch on the question that Gogo asked before, about if somebody can practice African spirituality and I'm not sure if she said Christianity or religion. Okay, so remember, religion, as I said, is something which is not created. Well, this is the way I perceive it. Is not something which is created to allow you to figure out who you are. It tells you who you are, tells you, you know, God is some being out there, not that God is within you and that this is where you need to find God. So it becomes challenging because now, as I said, also it's built to control. So there's a lot of rules and regulations and whatnot. And I really believe that spirit is not something which tries to control and tries to tell you what to do. It creates opportunities for connection. That's what I believe spirit does, and that's been my experience with spirit. So it becomes really challenging when religion is this entity which has got all of these rules and regulations, and you know, you're told that you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. But what if this thing that you're telling me that I can't do is something which is going to help me connect to my spirit? What if this thing that you're telling me that I can't connect to, how is it that you're telling me that, like, where I come from is evil, but I read the Bible and all I hear about and all I'm reading about are, you know, people who lived before? It makes no sense. So it becomes challenging for somebody to practice African spirituality and religion at the same time. But the most important thing, even with the concept of religion, what I've always understood and taken from religion is that there's a God and that there's one God. But the challenge with religion is we fight. You must fight which God is better than which one. My God is the God, you know, the way that you speak to your God is not the right way, whatnot. And that's not what spirituality is about. Spirituality is peace, whereas religion has come with many wars. Religion has come with many famines. It's come with many issues in general. So it becomes challenging for somebody who is practicing African spirituality or spirituality in general to connect to the concept of religion. But as I said, there is one source. And whether you are using spirituality, whether you're using religion, that's who you need to be dealing with. So if you're going to be in your religious bubble and connect to God only in that way, that's your thing, you know. But if you're using spirituality, you are still connecting to God, but now you're not connecting to God through using other channels and mediums. You are connecting to God using your spirit, using what is inside of you, what God has given you, the light that is inside of you. Okay. So
Were you answered?
Yes, I was. So I'll just end by saying I also wanted to make a comment on the issue of traditional medicine. I noticed that, you know, during the COVID-19 pandemic, there were some Chinese traditional doctors who traveled to Africa to administer, you know, their traditional medicine. And I was wondering, like, why we accept something when it's coming from outside as traditional medicine. Like, these are traditional doctors, but we do have our own back home, but, you know, nothing much is being appreciated from them. So by listening to doctors speaking right now, I was just, you know, joining together as to why is it that, you know, we are accepting these traditional doctors traveling far away, going into our own continent, our own countries, you know, to practice something that we ourselves don't even, you know, our own, we don't appreciate. Okay, so on that one, I just wanted to make that that passing comment. And then when I also wanted to talk about us again, Africans, like, you know, back home, like in Zimbabwe, you know, when someone passes on, you see that in the beginning, there's church service, okay? People are singing, the pastor will everything. Now, after a few days, they go back, you know, to practicing traditional things like go and put water on the grave and everything. After 1 year, brew some beer. You know, we need to bring back the spirits of the dead and everything. So again, I feel like there's so much confusion. We don't really know which one is which, because I think, again, we fear, like, okay, as a Christian, I fear hell. You know, as you know, on the spiritual African spirituality, I fear that the dead are going to come back and haunt me, okay, if I don't do this. So there is so much confusion. So thank you so much for the opportunity to talk.
You're welcome, Ziki. Ambassador, did you want to say something?
Yes, yes. I was trying to look into the question that Zaki has. And thank you so much, Makosi, for sharing that beautiful analysis of yours. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, about the hell and heaven, blah blah blah. Coming from Christianity, etc. Do we have it in Asian spirituality? Yeah, we do not have the concept anywhere, in any spiritualities on the continent. We have, in fact, we have no idea what that is, and we know that it's just a control system. It's more like a fear thing. They just want to create fear in amongst people, so that people can be able to, to be to do what they want. As such, it's a fear mechanism. That's what we know it to be. As such, and we're not known as people that fear. We don't fear things. Because we believe that what people fear is what they don't understand. You don't. People only get scared of what they do not understand. Generally, if you do not understand something, you'll be scared of it. All right. So they tends to be creating that thing so that people do not understand it. We don't have that in Asian spirituality, and we have been living our life peacefully. Even before they brought the ideas into the place. Right. Every single spiritualities in the continent and everywhere around the world, anywhere, every single one from different parts of the world, they are all the same thing at the end of the day. When you look at the call of every single Asian spiritualities in different parts of ethnic groups or different part of people in different parts of the world, you will realize that they're all talking about the same thing, but in different forms and languages. They have their forms and languages and stuff, which is normal. It's necessary. What do we expect? People from different parts of the world, what do we expect? They cannot be speaking like us as such. They can't be speaking the same language I'm speaking. But when you look at the core, when you look at the tenets of those spirituality, you see a lot of similarities with yours. Uh, you know, uh, the Yorubas will say Bujuba Bale, Arimu. If the nose, if the eye is very much relaxed, it's gonna see the nose, right? So people should just try as much as possible to look more deeper into every single Asian spiritualities around the world. Yes, we don't have the concept of hell or such yet. What we have is that every single thing that you do that goes against you know the laws of Olodumare in Yoruba, or we say the laws of nature. I mean, that is more universal. If I call it nature, it's more universal to everyone. If you go against the natural laws, you have to be expecting, uh, you know, uh, uh, the reapings, or the punishment of such. So at the end of the day, that is what we have in every single Asian spirituality. If you go against that law, because there's an already established laws of the universe that must be obeyed. If you don't follow those things, then you have to be expecting that. You have to be expecting some, some spank at the end of the day, so to speak, right? So we have Ikoliorun, the great beyond. When people pass away, there's this places there's this realm that they go to. Ifa says, as people are coming into the world, so are people leaving the world, right? And when people are crying, if anybody die now in the world right now, we are crying. We cry. Oh God, oh, we miss you. We miss you so much. We miss everything about you. This and that. This and that. If I let us to understand, as we are crying here, that particular spirit, not soul, because there's different. If I explain the difference between the spirit, the soul, and the physical cloak or the physical body. So these are three segments that needs to be taken care of. There's difference between spirit, soul, and physical body. So the physical body that we have right here, that's we are that we give names to, that give us our country, our names, our this and that, whatever we want to call it. It's like a cloth to our soul. It's like a cloth to our soul, right? Now, if I let us to understand that the spirit is going to journey to a point in the great beyond where the soul itself we have to we have to severe itself. The soul itself is a cloth to the spirit. When you get to that place of existence, your soul is going to drop itself, and became the original you, which is the spirit. Now, when people die in the Koliaye, that is, the planet Earth, we cry. What we know, what if I call that is the severance of the physical cloak. It's like you getting home now and you have to put off, your cap, your bead, your clothes and stuff. What remains is your soul. And so when people pass like that, you know, the first clothes will be taken care will be taken away. People cry, we are going to miss him, or we're going to miss her, we love her so much, this and that, this and that. As you are crying on planet Earth, Ifa says that people are also rejoicing in the great beyond. They are, they are they are merry, they are happy. Do you know why they are happy? Because there's an arrival of a soul among them, of a newborn baby. The same way we got happy when we are, when we receive a newborn baby on planet Earth. That's the same way some people are crying in the great beyond. That we're going to miss this person. So it's a flow, it's an inflow of humans, of spirits from the great beyond to the planet Earth. It's a continuous thing. It will continue like that, till some certain things are, are being handled according to Ifa. That enlightenment is in Ifa. People will continue to come and go, reincarnating. It will continue until they get some things right. There are some things that we need to get right. Once we get those things right, then there will be need of humans coming down to planet Earth again. Right. So, whatsoever you do right here, you are going to reap it. You have to get to understand that no matter what. Well, we don't call that hell. We call that life. It's life. So, the reapment or or what is known as karma in some other cultures, they are very, very right with that. We don't call that we don't call that hell here. It's not hell. It's not a place, a lake of fire. Everybody will be crying. This and that. It's far beyond all that. Whatsoever you reap, whatsoever you sow, you are going to reap it, according to every single Asian spirituality around the world, including Ifa and Osha spirituality. Thank you so much.
That's very interesting. Thank you so much, Ambassador.
Okay, so this is it for now. Okay, you heard me. I asked about. I've forgotten the question that I asked, but further on, I asked more and more questions just for you. So I am going to be bringing it to you, of course, like what I do in parts, so that you can hear everything that was said. It was really enlightening. So in the panel there, we had Dr. Anton Balinga. He is he's a medical doctor, but practicing traditional medicine and also Chinese medicine. He's based in China. And then we had Gogo Makosi, Luandile, something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly. She's from she was in China before, but now she went back. She's now in South Africa. She's a Sangoma. And then we had Ambassador Dramola. He is also my good friend. He's a writer, he's an author, published, yes. And he also practices African spirituality in the area of Ifa. Okay, so this whole session was enlightening. We took, and then we had Mkulu. Mkulu was talking about, he's a South African, he was talking about the African calendar as well. So there's so much we're going to hear from this session. Okay, so until then, my name is Ziki, and you know how we do it. I need to love you and I need to leave you, but of course, I'm gonna be back, and back. Until then, bye bye.